Hey everyone, Zhonos here, back with more 9Kings. So, oh, my cursor isn't showing. That's okay, it doesn't matter. There's a reason why. Because we're not going to do a new run. We're going to do a tier list on the King of Nothing. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on mostly the cards for now. Although we will be kind of alluding to some of the perks. So maybe we'll leave this open so we can reference it. I think I will look at the perks as well at a later date, and the policies as well. But there's a lot of images I gotta cut out. The ones on the wiki are not good. So we're gonna look at the cards here. So I'd like to hop over to Yoink. Yes, good old tier maker. So I think for now I'm going to start with the King of Nothing cards, but we're going to expand on this tier list. So while can you hear that? Oh no, freaking! I just want to hear the game. Give me the game music. There we go. Perfect. Just don't hover over here. Anyone here clicking? So, we are looking at King of Nothing for now, but I do want to add in the other kings as we get to them. And I'd like to try to finish at least the card tier list by the next patch. And over time, I'm probably going to start adding in a perk tier list and a policy tier list. But let's start out small. Let's not overcommit here. And we'll talk about... we'll talk about the King of Nothing. So, I think first and foremost, some ground rules here. This is for the King of Nothing first and foremost. And then we can take into account how well these cards work in other factions. But this is primarily as the King of Nothing. So each of the cards, as we add more kings and their cards, they will be focused on how good they are in their own faction first, and then to a lesser extent how good they are in other factions. But for example, Cemetery is absolutely broken, but is it the best in Blood? Maybe, maybe not. I'll give you my thoughts when we get to that. But just because Cemetery is like the best plot in the game, arguably, doesn't mean it automatically goes to S. It has to also be good in its own faction. So, given that, base is required. So the castle is just S by default because you have to use it. So another ground rule will be that the base cards will be this sort of a small exception. Base cards are actually only compared to the other bases. So you'll see when we add in the other base cards where they are going to stack up with each other. Given that, I think the castle is arguably S or A. I'm going to put an A for now, and then we're going to potentially move it around as we add more kings. The castle scales really well, has some decent perks. Fireball I actually come to really like. The policy Fireball is actually really good for at least king difficulty. That's another thing I guess I should establish with this tier list. For now, assume primarily king difficulty. Although I will note King 9 or King 9/9 as well when judging these cards, especially for like tie breaks. So I'm going to do Castle in A for now. Compared to all the other bases, it might be the best overall. It's really bad on auto though. But if you control it, it's pretty decent. I think Stronghold probably will beat it out though. So A probably feels good to me for now. Let's take a card that I don't think is very good, the Scout Tower. Now, is the Scout Tower an F or a C? I'm going to lean towards C for now. So, the problem with Scout Tower is you can't really buff it very well. Is it? I think the Dispenser actually outscales it pretty hard. There are worse towers, but we're gonna grade everything basically. Doesn't matter the card type other than the base. The base is the only exception. So given all the cards and the other factions, I think C is fine. It's close to F. Let's also say that we're going to organize the tier list in order as well. So the top of C tier versus the bottom of C tier. might be a huge gap. So for now, we'll put in C tier, and depending on the other cards of other factions, this might move potentially, at least around in C tier. Let's look at a good card. I'm thinking, let's look at Steel Coat. Steel Coat is either an A or an S. I'm thinking A for now. Steel Coat doesn't win you the game on the spot. Very few cards do. But I would say Steel Coat solves a lot of problems. And it has really good synergy with other good cards. Steel Coat scales very well with high unit counts, which this faction does scale off a unit somewhat. But I would say, yeah, in general, Steel Coat, we're going to put an A for now. I actually like it more than the castle. So, like, within this faction, I would rather level... I'd rather not put resources into castle. Like, you just have to go a castle build. So we're going to put Steel Coat above castle for now. But it's still not entirely fair to rank these bases. I might just put them in a separate tier list. Maybe leave me comments if you would rather these bases be in different tier lists. Because it's not exactly fair to rank them because you have to have a castle. Anyway, I like Steel Coat. It's basically, depending on the enemies, against the King of Nature, it's really, 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 really good because the enemy elves attack so slowly. It's okay against King of Stone. The problem with King of Stone is they have piercing ballista shots, so you actually will deplete a lot of these free hits. But again, like, these scale like crazy because unit count makes Steel Coat very powerful. You have 100 units that could take 100 free hits. Things like Cemetery, they inherit the imps that spawn from the units that die. If you have a Steel Coat on a unit, the imps that come out also get the Steel Coat. So you can just double, quadruple the power of Steel Coat just with one copy. It's insane just how many synergies can revolve around Steel Coat. Okay, next, Wildcard. I'm thinking Wildcard might be a pretty baseline, just okay card. It's definitely better than Scout Tower. I don't know if it's A, though. Wildcard is really good because it lets me level up anything. But the problem is, you don't always... Like, the ability to level up anything you want is good. But you don't really want to be using Wildcard to level up things. If possible, you want to use the Shrine or Overhaul. And so Wildcard basically just lets you get around... Like, if you get a rainbow card and you don't have a way to level it up because you can't get more copies of that, obviously getting Wildcard is better than getting a copy of a unit in most cases. So it's just kind of middle. It's just kind of mid. It's good. So it's the top of mid. So we're going to put it in B. And when we see more cards, we'll probably have a better feel for what we want to do with Wildcard here. Next, let's look at the Blacksmith. So Blacksmith has good synergy with the Paladin because Paladin will gain attack and health at the same time. But Blacksmith, so almost everything in the game does damage. So Blacksmith can almost always help any plot that's put next to it. So it's not as niche, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of plots don't really need damage. I'd rather have attack speed for almost everything in the game. Percent attack speed. Even though things will scale much slower with a percent attack speed, I'd almost rather have attack speed scaling than damage. The only reason why damage is okay is because of the synergy with Paladins, and like, it's just always viable. You could always use it on pretty much any plot you could put next to it. Yeah, B's probably fine too. I think Wildcard is better. I think this will do. It's not as bad as Scout Tower, so we'll put in B. Archer. So, if you're just playing King difficulty, Archer is an A. If you're trying for a higher difficulty, I think Archer is a B. Archer requires a lot of investment, and you're never safe. So other units that are defense oriented or have like a true like global hit, like the freaking Hourglass in King of Time, those can just focus on 1 or 2 stats and eventually just take over the game. And there are some cards can win just almost outright with 1 or 2 particular support cards. Like Gigantify. You will not just suddenly win by Gigantifying an Archer. You won't suddenly win by getting 2 feasts. If you're running Archers. And Archers rely on you giving them steel coats, giving them static, giving them poison. If you can get swords on them, they could be okay because they have high base attack speed. I like Archers. I changed my mind. I would have ranked them much lower, but the recent games I played on the channel, I think right here is correct. It's close. I like Archers as a mix-in unit to help out with other things because they're spread out. Having units that are spread out are really helpful to counter AoE, which there's a lot of AoE in this game. And having range units in general is really nice, but these aren't ranged like elves, so they will bunch up and they will be susceptible to AoE a little bit. But their high attack speed is really helpful. They have decent stats as well. I think it's like this. If I consider higher difficulty and the viability in other classes and other factions, I think here's correct. Above Blacksmith, but not... It's close with Wildcard. I think, but you really want like Twin Shot and stuff like that to really make Archers powerful. Soldier. Is it worse than the Scout Tower? I'm not going to go here. All of these, I would not argue with someone who would put these both in F tier. I'm thinking, I think C is correct. I don't like soldiers because, and you saw this on a recent video I did. Soldiers scale based on unit count, but with 1,000 soldiers, you're breaking 1,000 damage naturally at level 3 soldiers. So just 1,000 damage with a level 3 soldier when you have 1,000 soldiers. In case you don't know, soldiers scale their damage 1% for every unit added to the troop. I don't like the changes. Their base attack is pretty low. They just don't scale well enough at all. And they're melee, so they die to AoE all the same. They don't have like crazy high unit count like imps, which get 12 per unit per level. So I think C is probably correct for soldier. Their perks and policies, there's almost nothing that really help them. Archers actually have Twin Shot and other synergies. Soldiers they're kind of average in their stats, if not below average, because they added the 1% scaling damage for every troop. But to get them to troop counts where their damage actually starts mattering, you have to have like 2,000 of them, 3,000, well, probably 2,000 would probably get you near the damage cap, I'm going to guess. I definitely know like 1,100, 1,200 started getting to like tens and hundreds of thousands of damage. It scales like crazy, right? Like once you get to 1,000 troops, that's the hard part. Every 100 more and you start getting crazy more attack. Yeah, I think C is right because it just takes way too much to invest into them and they're just not... They're too balanced in their stats. They're not good really in any of them. Okay, we'll look at farm next. Farm. I think farm. Top of B, bottom of A. So my reasoning here. My reasoning here. I hope you didn't hear the mic bump. Reasoning here is I'm like scratching my chin. I think farms enable several different units. like defenders. And they have interesting synergies with other factions. I think farm also has really good synergy with the paladin, because you start with so few paladins. I can barely see him down here. Paladins have, I'm gonna be honest. Paladins are up here. The only thing holding back that maybe here. The only thing holding paladins back is paladins require some setup, and you only have 3 by default. Like you get very few paladins per level up, and they don't have good damage by themselves. So, but because farm has really good synergy with paladins and steel coat, I think top of B is fair. I don't think it's A. Not every build needs a farm, and farms are slow without overwork or populate the King of Nature policy. And I prefer relying on procreate in most cases, especially if I'm playing King of Nature. So there are many more ways to get higher unit counts that don't take a plot. And you have to level this up to really start getting unit counts. But that being said, if you're playing King of Nothing, you get 4 of these for free. And a lot of builds can just suddenly become a lot more viable, like the Paladin. If you have +4 units every year, starting at year 1. I think top of B is fair. We might change our minds later when we add more cards, but I think this is about right. And then Paladins, I don't know if I like them better than Steel Coat. In this faction, Paladins are better than Steel Coat, but Paladins are not good in other factions for the most part. Like, they're okay. But the things you can do with perks and policies really help Paladins. Like, let me hop back over to the game real fast. So if we look at the King of Nature, not Nature, King of Nothing. So, Protector. You can get 4 free steel coats on the Paladins, which isn't actually that important, but it helps you survive the other game. Berserk I slept on. I don't think it's that good on the Paladin, but they have attack speed for free, basically, because this buffs everything, which you probably prefer it on the castle. But this does everything. So you can give them a little bit of a boost on their very low attack speed. But what's more important really is, the 4 farms. Having 4 farms fixes the Paladin's problem, because you have so few units. And then if you give them Steel Coat, even just 1 copy Steel Coat with all these farms is great. If you want to get silly, you can even have Paladins start with 15 units. 15 units at level 1. If you really feel like you're behind. But more than anything, things like Nurturer, Holy. Holy is crazy with Paladins. So I think Holy really pushed Paladins up even more. Because, let's go back to the tier list here. If you think about what Holy does with the Prophecy Year, Paladins have a text that reads, actually, no, hold on. Let me go back. Let me show you the Paladin so you can read. Let's look right here. Damage buffs also increase its HP. So imagine you get Holy. So it's now ×2 or ×3 or even ×4 as opposed to just ×2, which is the default. So you can have ×4 to its damage stat. Now, something funny happens when you hit the Paladins with a damage % increase. This, if they have 100 HP and only 1 damage, that's never going to happen. If they had that and they got 4 times on their damage, yeah, they'd have 4 attack. Actually, it'd be slightly more. I'm not sure. I think it does it in stages. But even if it's just straight up 4. So, 4 attack, it's not like they'd have 104 HP. No. The HP also just gets the ×4 multiplier. So they'd have 400 HP. Paladins are disgusting. Like, there are so many things you can do to take advantage of that ability and like double dip. And there's a lot more that you can abuse in this game, like Gigantify, among many other things. Its Paladins can go hog wild. If it weren't for the universal power of Steel Coat in a ton of builds, and you just need one, and you can get these Steel Coat from things like Offering, whereas Paladin, you'd actually have to like buy them in a store or base King of Nothing and then find the Paladin. If it weren't for the ease of Steel Coat, I'd have Paladins above Steel Coat, but Steel Coat just fits so many more bills, and the Paladins also don't hate Steel Coat too. That being said, if we're looking at the King of Nothing cards they have available to them and how they fit into the rest of the options that other kings can pick, I think Paladins are an A. Are any of these S? I don't think so. These two are the contenders, I think, and Castle as a base is pretty close to S. I think there are better cards. I think Paladin is really good, but they suffer from low attack speed and low damage by default, and low unit count. So there's a lot of things holding the Paladin back, but they can scale like crazy. And Steel Coat is very, very good. It might be, is it the best tome? It's enchantment. Right, you can't get this from Offering. What am I talking about? You'd have to get this from the shop or get libraries to duplicate them. Anyway, yeah, no, Steel Coat is an A, I think, because you can't get it through Offering and other freebie methods. But it does turn a lot of builds from being weak to very, very powerful. Like Steel Coat enables a lot. So I think I like this. Top of A tier, maybe S tier for both of these. Actually, all three of these. As we add more kings and their cards, I think we'll see these three still staying towards the top of this A tier. Farm as well is pretty good. Wildcard might stay up here. Archer might fall back, and Blacksmith is down here at the bottom of B. Soldier, Scout Tower is at the bottom of C. Soldier is pretty close to the bottom as well. So I think we'll end the video here. Let me know. This happens to be that the King Nothing is kind of centered and balanced, but it's not going to be the same for the rest of the kings. I promise you that. And these might change. You know, Scout Tower might drop down. Steel Coat might come up. Blacksmith might drop down. We'll see. Either way, I think next episodes, tomorrow we're probably going to play a little bit more of the next king in line, so we get one last check on their strength, and then I'll probably do another tier list. So maybe every other day or two, every 2 or 3 days, we'll update this tier list. Hopefully that'll give us still enough time before the next patch, and then we'll go from there. Either way, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe. I promise gameplay's coming tomorrow. Either way, see y'all next time.